Let's be honest, the world feels like it's spinning way too fast, right? It's getting more complex, more chaotic, and it's easy to feel lost. So how do we get our bearings? Today, we're diving into the playbook of historian Yuval Noah Harari. He's got this incredible framework for making sense of the biggest challenges we're facing right now.
So Harari's central idea is pretty simple but powerful. Our biggest problem isn't that we don't have enough information. No way, we're drowning in it. The real fight, the real struggle, is for clarity. In this new world, power belongs to the people who can cut through all that noise and see what actually matters.
And that leads to this huge question, one that's for every single one of us. With technology and society changing at this insane pace, are our brains even equipped to keep up anymore? This isn't just some philosophical puzzle. It's a real, personal challenge.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the big stories, the grand narratives that have basically been our guidebooks for the last century. Think of them like a map for reality. Well, Harari argues that those maps are now totally, dangerously out of date. For decades, the main map, the dominant story, was liberalism. You know the one. It promised that if you just mix free markets, human rights, and democracy, you'd get a peaceful, prosperous world. But then, the 2008 financial crisis hit, and we've seen this huge backlash against globalization. For a lot of people, that story just doesn't ring true anymore.
But here's where Harari makes a really interesting point. Even though that story is in crisis, no one has really come up with a better one to replace it on a global scale. I mean, you don't see people flocking to authoritarian countries, right? They vote with their feet, and they still head for places built on those old liberal ideals. So we might be angry at the system, but for now, it's kind of the only global game in town.
All right, so if the political crisis is like a tremor, Harari warns that the tech revolution, well, that's the massive earthquake on the horizon, and it's ready to shake the very foundations of what it even means to be human.
Think about something as simple as GPS. You know how it goes. At first, you argue with it, right? No, I know a shortcut. But then it saves you from a monster traffic jam one day, and you start to trust it. Pretty soon, you're following it blindly. And after a while, that mental muscle you use for navigating, it just kind of disappears. You've outsourced it.
And this is so much bigger than just finding the nearest coffee shop. We are starting to outsource some of the most personal decisions in our lives. Algorithms tell us what to watch, who to date, they even track our health. The authority we used to hold over our own lives is slowly but surely shifting to these outside systems.
And this shift puts us in some really tricky ethical spots. Just imagine a self-driving car that's about to have an unavoidable accident. How do you program it? Do you make it the altruist car that swerves to save a group of pedestrians, even if it means sacrificing you, the owner? Or do you make it the egoist car that protects you no matter what? For the first time ever, we have to literally code our philosophy into machines.
And get this, when they surveyed people on this, the results were amazing. In theory, most people said, oh yeah, the car should sacrifice the owner for the greater good. But when they were asked which car they would actually buy, they almost all chose the one that would save them. It just shows this huge gap between what we think is right in general and what we want for ourselves.
So you've got collapsing political stories, you've got these disruptive technologies. It's no wonder everyone's talking about living in a post-truth world. But Harari makes an even more radical claim. He says humanity has always lived by fiction. We've always been in a post-truth world. This is Harari just completely flipping the script. He's arguing that the way fake news works today is the exact same way our biggest institutions were built. The only real difference he sees between a crazy conspiracy theory and, say, a religion or a nation is just how many people believe it and for how long.
And these fictional stories can have an incredibly long and deadly life. I mean, look at this. One single piece of fake news in England in 1255. It gets 19 people executed, it gets written into classic literature, it fuels centuries of violence across an entire continent, and it wasn't officially called out as a lie until 1955. 700 years. It's just a stunning reminder of the power of a good or a bad story.
But, and this is a really important but, Harari isn't saying fictions are bad. Actually, it's the opposite. He says they are our species' unique superpower. Believing in things that don't physically exist, like nations or corporations or money or human rights, that's what lets millions of us cooperate with total strangers. Without these shared fictions, our entire civilization would be impossible.
So if these huge fictions are what organize our world on the outside, what about the most powerful fiction of all, the one that organizes your world from the inside? Yeah, let's talk about the story we each tell about who we are. This might sound a little wild, But Harari suggests that our sense of having a single, stable self, that feeling of I that's been there since you were a kid, that's also a story. It's not a concrete thing. It's a narrative our brain constructs to make sense of everything that's happening to us.
You've basically got this little storyteller in your head, and its job is to create your identity. It picks and chooses key memories, smooths over all the contradictions, and weaves it all together into your personal myth. Social media is the perfect example of this in action. We take a messy, tense family vacation and turn it into 5 perfect smiling photos. We're editing our reality into a clean story.
Okay, once you understand that almost everything is a story, from our countries to our own sense of self, that leads us to the final and honestly the most urgent lesson of all. The ancient advice to know thyself isn't just philosophy anymore. It's become a survival skill.
The real danger Harari sees isn't some sci-fi robot apocalypse. It's much quieter. It's that super smart AI, which can know our deepest fears and biases better than we do, will be used to manipulate us. Instead of making us smarter, technology could just amplify our worst instincts, all for profit or for power.
And this chart really just says it all, doesn't it? As a species, we are pouring unbelievable amounts of money and brainpower into developing artificial intelligence. But our investment in understanding our own consciousness, our own minds, it's practically nothing. We're creating this huge, incredibly dangerous imbalance.
So this is Harari's big call to action. He's not saying stop developing AI. He's saying we have to urgently, desperately rebalance our priorities. If we want to have any hope of steering this future wisely, our understanding of ourselves has to keep up with our technology.
And that's where we'll leave it, with this challenge, really, because the race is on. Right now, external algorithms are getting better and better at figuring you out. The ancient question was, who am I? The new question is, will I figure out who I am before an algorithm decides for me? It's a question we all have to answer.